of operations to continue, mainly because the riders they were carrying were inexperienced in handling the steep downhill, sharp corners, and how quickly you can gather a lot of speed. Some of the bicycle tour companies are still operating, but they launch the riders from outside of the national park, starting at 6,500 feet elevation, or about a third of the way down from the top. It's still a spectacular trip, even though we don't quite get the full 30 miles. Now that said, we might still see some cyclists making their way down the mountain. There's nothing to stop you as a private rider from doing the ride. Nothing other than the huge effort it takes to propel yourself to the top. It's an awesome training ride for serious athletes. And for us today, well, I'm glad we've decided to drive to the top. My circuits get sore just thinking about how hard that ride is. We've reached the 5,000-foot elevation mark.
Yay.
That means we've climbed halfway up the mountain so far. From here to the summit, we should see some great views, so long as the clouds are being helpful.
Yo do 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 do. Yo do 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 do.
Go over to the left. Now we're at 68 degrees. We dropped 14 degrees in 5 miles. No, well,
Where's the cows at?
7, 8 miles. I don't want to see cows. It's kind of be in our dashboard. Is that almost?
As we're getting closer to the top, I'm going to talk about volcanoes.
Okay.
I'm sure that by now you already know that the Hawaiian Islands are the result of volcanic activity. It's so interesting how even in the mythology surrounding Pele, what's being described, though it's not logical in our scientific terms, has some similarities to our modern geological explanations. It suggests that the ancient Hawaiians developed stories and theories based on their observations, and they seem to make some clever conclusions. An example is how Hawaiian legend says that Pele first tried to make a home on Kauai, then on Oahu, then here on Maui, and then finally on the Big Island. You'll see what I mean as I explain island formation. I have to admit, our geology is less entertaining as pure storytelling, and I don't want to make this seem too much like a lecture. So, I'll do my best to stick to the major facts and not get too complicated with details.
dinosaurs at? Welcome to Jurassic Park. King Kong is over there.
In the clouds. Never seen somebody.
You'll see a tempting viewpoint on the left side of the road just ahead. This lookout is small and is a little bit dangerous too if there's oncoming traffic. I suggest we do not stop here.
Okay.
Up ahead there are many more safer pullouts to
Alright.
views that we can get into more easily. In fact, for this drive, I suggest we go all the way to the top without stopping, except at the park fee booth. Then on our way back down, I'll tell you about the viewpoints and overlooks, and you can decide which ones to stop at. What I want to do is to maximize our time at the summit, in case we have to be a little bit patient for clouds to blow on through.
Blow on through to the other side. Blow on through to the other side. Get your head out of the clouds, boy. Literally, our heads in the clouds.
Clouds are just blowing right by. This ain't smog, folks. Fog.
Now, I expect everyone has heard about tectonic plates at some time during their education. The plates are giant slabs of rock. They can be made up of rock that's under the ocean, or rock that's above land, or even a little of both. How thick a plate is can vary between 5 miles to 150 miles deep, depending on the age of the rock. Thinner areas tend to be much younger rock. One of the biggest plates of the dozen or so that exist on the Earth is the Pacific Plate, and the Hawaiian Islands sit almost in the middle of it. These massive plates slowly move as if floating along the top of a thick liquid. The way I like to think of tectonic plates is like if you put a bunch of blow-up mats floating in a pool. If you push gently against one, it will move and rub up against another one, or might even cause a few of those other mats to move. The Pacific Plate moves at the astounding speed of 1 inch per year, similar speed to how fast your fingernails grow. The direction of movement of the Pacific Plate is towards the northwest. The Pacific Plate is moving towards Japan and Russia. We see the effects of the movement of the Pacific Plate in the form of fault lines, and sometimes earthquake activity along these places where plates meet each other. Many of us know about the San Andreas fault line that runs inland along the west coast of the USA. Hollywood has a fascination with it. So many movies have been made. That fault line provides us with a visible boundary between two tectonic plates. In this case, it's where the Pacific Plate meets the North American Plate. Where plates are colliding or splitting apart, sometimes deep cracks allow magma to rise to the surface as a volcano. Think of Mount St. Helens. So, that's the first concept for us. The land of the Earth and below the ocean is made up of giant plates that kind of float or